Welcome to another Coach's CatChat. Joe Stewart here with head Linfield baseball coach Dan Spencer on a beautiful day out at Roy Helzer Field as we're getting ready for kind of the second half of the season already. As the month of March is wrapped up, you guys are getting prepared for a Northwest Conference Series up at PLU this weekend. But just overall, Coach, how are you feeling about the team right now as we get ready for April and kind of the clutch part of the year?
Well, and you said it, yeah, you got to play well in April. I had a guy tell me here just a few weeks ago, hey, you got to play well enough in March, so April matters, and we've done enough of that in March, and I feel good about where we're at. I feel good about, I feel good about the improvements. I think we went through some things early. Our starting pitching has for the most part been very consistent. We had some things to sort out in the bullpen. I think those things have started to be sorted, and then I think we have some guys that maybe got off to a slower start that are swinging the bat pretty well, and I like some of the length in our lineup, and now it's just a matter of being consistent. Can you be kind of the same every day?
Yeah, 13-9 now, and only 5-4 in conference play, but
Sure.
still, April is when things really get going there in terms of playing games consistently. Had the trip down to California. Things went very well there. Got the big win over a top 25 Cal Lutheran team before winning the series against Occidental. It seems like these last couple of weeks, ever since particularly that Willamette series where you guys took 2 out of 3, things are starting to coalesce. What have you liked specifically over the last couple of weeks and that California trip leading into the win just a couple days ago here at home against Bushnell?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is that, like I said, the starting pitching's been pretty consistent, and if you look at the Oxy series, and some of it was the ballpark, and I think some of it was all of our 3 starters who we all consider them ones, 1, and 1. They were all for them just okay, and that's good. And when we can still win 2 out of 3, pick some of those guys up and score some runs, and I think the thing that kind of gets missed in there is, defensively in the infield, we've gotten better. So we've gotten better in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've tightened some things up, and obviously that's going to be, a key going forward to continue to defend. And losing Eisenhut, at least for, we're going to lose him, I would guess, for the season. They're still looking at it, but with a knee injury, that means somebody else is going to have to be in the mix with McClory in the infield, McClory at second base. So, I like the fact that, we have been pretty good situationally. We've been able to bunt. We've played some hit and run. We've done some things. They've been able to execute. They're a really good. They do a really good job with just the practice during the week and the work during the week and the train and the weight room part of the week. And it's a game generally that you get what you deserve, and so, probably where we are right now is exactly what we deserve, and so we're looking forward to April, and we're looking forward to going to PLU and getting this thing going.
Swenson, Johnson, Orem, those 3 you mentioned, you consider them all number 1.
Sure.
As you've been trying to kind of figure things out with the bullpen, and I want to dive into the bullpen too, but how much pressure does it take off of those guys in already a pressure-filled situation, knowing that those starters, even when they're maybe not playing their best, can still give you 5, 6, maybe even 7 solid innings?
Those guys,
how much
that's a big deal.
To you?
Yeah, that's a big deal. It's a big deal when they're consistently going out there and going 6 and 7 innings, just because it just shortens the game. It eliminates some of those outs that you have to get with a middle guy or somebody else, and at the end of a weekend, that's a big deal. And it's a big deal when you get to a midweek too. You can still pitch a midweek like you want to. I thought the midweek this week was tremendous, just from the standpoint of 10 guys pitched, and you could argue that 9 of the 10 were pretty good, and all 10 were, and nobody was bad. And sometimes when you run that many guys out in the game, the chance of a guy breaking down, are big, and nobody did. Nobody just broke down, and so that kind of depth is huge. The key now is to just be consistent, be good every day, give yourself a chance every day to play. And I think that if you've watched this team play, sometimes it's hard on the coaches, but every game it feels like we don't. Most of these games are right down to we're playing at between the 7th and the 9th is where the game's happening, where it's decided. So there's not a lot of games like the first game on Saturday morning in Oxy where we run somebody out of the joint. They're tight, they're close, it's just the way it's been.
And that's why having a guy like Colton Ouellette here come in and do what he's done his freshman year has been so huge. 4 saves already here in the first 6 weeks of his collegiate career. But this bullpen overall, what were your thoughts on guys who stood out? Some guys who stood out on Tuesday in the Bushnell game in the last couple of weeks. Seems like Colton's kind of locked down that end of the bullpen spot. But who's standing out to you?
The guys in the pen, and I thought Cooper Justice was really good on Tuesday. I think that was his best, the best that he's been. I think as far as consistent, both pitches, both secondary pitches. I mean, I thought he was good. Hampson's been really good. Zach Hampson's been really good. Obviously, Ouellette has been very good. Mannion has been a little bit up and down, not with his stuff, just with his command, but he's been better of late. So he's a key guy. Ludlow threw a scoreless inning, which is huge for hopefully down the road, down the stretch. I thought that just that and I'm trying to think of who else pitched. But, anyway, I think that Alder's been a big deal, getting him back, getting an older guy back, an older guy that has had success, missed some time. He's very hungry. That's a big deal because he's a guy that can go out and get 3 or 4 outs. And so anybody that can do that at a high level, I mean, you shorten the game and you give yourself a lot of opportunities and then you don't blow somebody up and, burn a guy that you can't maybe use again the next day or on the weekend because you have some depth in the pen.
Offensively, I mean, this is a team that last year had a big surge in the home runs, and that's continued. We've seen even more trending upwards in the power category for this team. Situational hitting, we talked about that a lot last season and how sometimes there's a little bit of an issue. Right. How are you kind of evaluating that right now? Seems like the offense seems to be clicking. The California trip helped with that. And it seems like 1 through 9, you have had to tweak things a little bit, but you've been able to get contributions from up and down the order.
Well, and I think that's the key. I think that this year, maybe even more than last year, it's more spread out throughout the order. Maris did a lot of damage last year. Maris and Holm, those 2 guys last year, and Holm hasn't been. He's been solid, but not the same as he was a year ago, which is just baseball. And Maris got off to a slow start. Now he's rolling, so that really changes things. So I think there's just more. There's a lot more guys I think contributing daily to that lineup. And there's guys that, and the good thing is too is there's 2 or 3 guys on the bench that can come off and help you off the bench. So Kastler's had big moments off the bench. Hurley has had moments as a starter and off the bench. So there's some other guys. It's not just the 9 guys you're running out there. There is some competition in that lineup, and more so, Gullard, Bowie had a big day, and so there's more competition in the outfield just because there's more guys out there that are, we don't have as much depth in the infield, and obviously less now. So I think that the competition in practice to get those at bats, and then maybe the emphasis on, being good in your role. Having an offensive package individually that fits with the club, cutting our strikeouts down, maybe be getting better, at swinging at the right pitch. Those are all things that I think we're doing a better job of. We have work to do, but the guys know it, and they strive to. We're striving. They're trying to get better.
Quickly before we talk about the PLU series, with Eisenhunt going down, that was a big blow, and hopefully able to come back stronger next year. But as you mentioned, likely going to miss significant time here the rest of the way. He's a guy that was really heating up. 6-game hitting streak going through the Bushnell game there, and obviously had been solid defensively as well. It seemed like you had kind of locked in on him as Manser at that second and third base positions. Sure. How does that injury reshuffle things around the infield a little?
Well, I think that McClory's had enough time. He's been in a lot of games, so he's gonna obviously be in the middle of more innings. I think Marco Santelli, we're having to think about that, and then we're thinking about a couple of guys. One guy we're trying to get healthy still, Aiden Jackson, who I don't think is quite ready. And then a freshman, Zach Yeager, who can play the position. It may be so. One of those 2 guys, Yeager or Jackson, needs to be on the bus to PLU. I mean, we got to have another guy. So we're working on that right now, kind of thinking about that. We'll see it practice again today, and one more day to look at it. But I think that we're not in a position. Obviously, we don't need another guy to get hurt, especially in the infield. But I like the way we're going to miss Tyler for a lot of reasons. He's a very intense player. He's a hard-nosed kid. He's a tough kid, which is all going to help him here recover. But another it's just it's an opportunity for somebody else, and that's kind of how you have to look at it. It's not everybody has guys that get hurt. Everybody has guys that hit 400 last year and they're hitting 240 now, and so you wonder why that happens, but it's the way it is, and it's baseball, and it is around the league. I mean, there's every club in our conference has a guy that's doing something they didn't expect in the positive, and something that they thought they were going to get more, and they're not.
That's the beauty of baseball.
Yeah, it's the way it is, and it's the way not just this conference, around the country at any level of college baseball.
Sure. So Pacific Lutheran going up to Tacoma this weekend.
Right.
Going to end up playing one on Friday before the doubleheader on Saturday,
Yep.
trying to avoid the Sunday rain.
Sure.
So for this series here, we know that PLU, always a solid club.
Yep.
I know it's a program you got a lot of respect for.
Yes. Yep.
And they've had a little bit of an up-and-down start, as it seems like a lot of teams in the Northwest Conference have.
Sure.
It seems like the teams that are going to be able to put together runs of wins in April, not
Sure.
just take series, but sweep series
Yep.
in April, are going to be the ones that are playing in May for this conference. What is the key to, you've taken two Northwest Conference series already of the three you've played.
Right.
What's the key to maybe turning some of those into sweeps and rattling off a win-heavy April?
I think if you look at the games, and I think if you look at all of our of the series that we've played, when you finish a series, you could look at it and go, I think we scored some runs against Willamette in one of the games, but the other two games, the one we won and the one we lost, we could have won them all, probably could have lost them all. Same thing at Pacific. We won one, but we could have won them all. We had, but we could have lost them all. And it's really not much different. There was at least two of those games with Fox, one win and a loss, the same way. So I think that there's a lot of parity in our league in baseball. There's just a lot of good clubs, and PLU's one of them. They're just not, for whatever reason, they're a scary club because they haven't really played like everybody kind of thought they would early. And so, I know they're waiting. They're trying to get on that run that defines their season. So I think the thing is, it always starts on the mound. You got to pitch well, and then you got to take care of your business, like you said, offensively, situationally. And if we continue to defend, we're going to continue to find ourselves in the middle of games in the 7th and 8th inning, I think. And then it's just about finishing. I think when you start talking about sweeping series and that in our conference, I think those things are. And I do agree with you that I think whoever wins the conference is going to sweep a couple series, but that's hard to do. It's not. There's just not those kind of bottom feeders in our league where you roll in and go, hey, we're going to get two, we're going to have to fight in one. I mean, it's a 3-game go.
Well, we're excited to see how this month goes, and starting with this weekend up at Pacific Lutheran, Wildcats are going up Friday to play Game 1 Friday night before the doubleheader on Saturday starting at noon. Linfield returns home for a Tuesday afternoon non-conference meeting with Lewis and Clark back here in McMinnville. Coach, thanks for the time, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, fellas.